Got a question from Dane Miller, and the question is how to deal with loneliness. Hey, this is Mark Dhamma, high performance health and mindset coach for entrepreneurs. And yeah, I got a question from Dane Miller, how to deal with loneliness. Now, loneliness is a real problem. And there's actually some research done, preliminary research done by Dr. Barbara Fredrickson, who's a positive psychologist, got the book coming out called Positivity. And it shows that people who report being lonely actually have higher levels of inflammation genes turned on. So genes in the body cause inflammation, higher levels turned on than people who are not lonely. Now that's a bad thing, because higher levels of inflammation mean that you're more likely to get disease and get sick and possibly die early. It's not a good thing at all. So loneliness affects your physical health, and of course loneliness affects your mental health. Loneliness and depression are linked, especially people who are struggling, who might be slipping off into depression. One of the first things you do is you start isolating themselves, and that's the worst thing you can do. It's actually being more social, getting around a support group, which protects against depression, because human beings, we're social animals. So it's really important that we do have support groups, we have family, we have friends, and we're around them. So Dane, it's worrying me that you're feeling lonely, man, because that's not good for your physical health, and that's certainly not good for your mental health. So, why are you lonely? That's the question. Why are you lonely? The interesting thing about loneliness is that there's no objective measure of whether you're lonely or not. You know, someone could have 50 friends. They could, from the outside world, they could have, let's say, put it this way, someone could have 1,000 friends on Facebook and still feel lonely. Someone could have friends, or what would seem to be friends in the real life, and they can still feel lonely. So if you're feeling lonely, I'm sorry to say, it's up to you. That's your responsibility. If you're feeling lonely, you must realize that is your responsibility. That's the first step. Now, it's either because you've been isolating yourself, which a lot of entrepreneurs do, and we're going to get into that, or it's because you're telling yourself, your self-talk is that you're lonely, even though you've got friends and family around who wants to support you. And I know somebody, there's actually someone in my family who, we all love him, but he pulls himself away. He isolates himself. We'll reach out to him, we'll call him, we'll text him, he won't get back to us, we'll invite him to things, won't get back to us, and when we finally do get to meet him, we can tell that he's unhappy, he's sad, and when we ask him about his friends, he hasn't really got any friends, and you can tell he's lonely. You can tell he's lonely, you can tell he's unhappy. Now, that's not because he doesn't have anyone who cares about him or wants to be in his life. That's because he's perpetuating the loneliness himself. He's pulling himself away, and because he's so deep into it, he doesn't even realize that he's isolating himself and he's pushing other people away. He's pushing loved ones out of his life. I'm certain he doesn't even realize that. I think it's an unconscious thing. So you must ask yourself, are you pushing others away? Because if you are, then you're going to cause yourself loneliness. And are there people out there that you can reach out to and connect with? And there certainly is. Now, a thing that entrepreneurs do is there's a false belief going around that I've got to cut myself off from society, I've got to cut myself off from friends and family, I've got to close myself in my bedroom or in a basement or in an office and just build an amazing business on my own without any help. So maybe you've got that belief, Dane. And if so, you must get rid of it, because it's a false belief. MIT, the prestigious university here in the US, the East Coast, MIT School of Entrepreneurship, they've got an entrepreneurship branch. They're actually the most successful top entrepreneurship school in the world. Apparently, that if you check out MIT's alumni, the amount of revenue that their alumni have raised through different businesses, apparently it's into the trillions. Okay, very successful school. That school has identified two things that add to a successful startup. Now, most people think for a successful startup, you need a really inspirational, creative, successful entrepreneur. MIT say that's not true. There's two things that help you predict how successful a startup will be. The first thing is the size of the team. The larger the team, the more likely they are to be successful. Second thing is the experience of the team. The more experienced the teams are of setting businesses, the more likely they are to be successful. So if you have a belief that you've got to do it all on your own, then you're wrong, because the stats say differently. The stats say your business is going to be more successful if you have a team. So those are a few things to take in mind. Now, if you are lonely and you're like, okay, I got it, maybe I'm fulfilling it, I'm self-perpetuating it, maybe there are people around, or maybe you had that false belief that you've got to do it on your own. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to change it? I have a suggestion. My suggestion would be that you reconnect with your friends, you reconnect with family. You make sure that at least every week you put time aside for certain friends, good friends, not the ones that bring you down. They're not friends, not negative friends. People are going to build you up. You spend time with those friends, and you put time aside for your family. And if you're in a relationship, romantic relationship, you absolutely put time aside for your relationship at least one day a week, I would say, if you want it to be successful, that is. Other things to consider is going to a co-working space like this. We're here at Expert Dojo in Santa Monica. Get around other entrepreneurs, join a mastermind group. Basically, get support. You must get support. Build support. Any entrepreneur, whether you're lonely or not, build a support structure, because that's going to help you when times get tough, and you're going to have people to celebrate with when you're, when you've made it, when you've hit the big time, baby. All right, so that would be my recommendations. And I've got a question for you. If you're lonely, what one action are you going to take right now? What one action are you going to take to improve your social circle and end this loneliness forever? Maybe it's a mindset tweak. Maybe you're going to just realize, be more grateful of the people you do have around and reconnect with them. Or maybe you're going to go out and make new friends and new business associates who can help support you. But what one thing you're going to do? Comment below and subscribe to the channel if you're an entrepreneur and you want to be at your best physically and mentally.